Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome along. This is Kate from What Kate Made. Here again with another make and do session for you. Today we're going to concentrate on Christmas baubles. I am trying to be able to see your comments as I go, which I think I can actually do this time. So please feel free to comment as we go along. I always like to hear what everybody says. So today's session is about revamping baubles. Now, we all have lots and lots of Christmas baubles that maybe, we're part of a set, we've only got one left. They've got slightly damaged. We just don't like the colour anymore. But don't throw them away because there's loads you can do with them. And using just bits and pieces you've got lying around, it doesn't even have to be anything. You're not going out and buying anything special. You're just using up what you've got lying around. So I'll just show you a few examples of ones that I've done so that you can see what I mean. So for instance, this one, it was just a glittery bauble. It was looking a bit, I've got bits of glue on it, but whoops, there. Now, what all I've done there, very simply, is stick these glue on these snowflake sequins. And all of a sudden, it looks totally different. I'm just going to say hi to Rosemary, my biggest fan. She's always on. So that's a very simple thing to do. You can use fabrics. This is pretty. This is quite a sort of vintage one. I've used a bit of really nice cream satin fabric and just basically tied it into a little parcel, put a bow on it, matching contrasting fabric, and then you can just sort of splay out the top. So it looks a little bit, I think, like a Christmas pudding wrapped up in a cloth, ready to be used. I've also done one in a different fabric. This one is a Christmassy fabric. It's got holly leaves on it. That's quite pretty too. So that's your fabric wrapped ones. You can use all sorts of bits and pieces you've got lying around. This one has got, this is just Christmas ribbon that was left over. Ignore the glue. And again, those little snowflake sequins. I have got so many of these. I bought a huge pack years ago. I use them every year. So that's another simple one to do, just glue and ribbon. Something a bit more ambitious, but doesn't always work as well, is to use, this one's got a piece of cord round, and then I've glued these pearl beads all around it, which came off a pearl necklace that I bought for about 50 pence at a charity shop. So that is really quite glamorous and regal, I think. So the final one is actually my favourite. I like these. This is a very rustic one. It's my old favourite jute twine wrapped around the bauble. So this is good for baubles that are damaged, as is the fabric wrapped one, because you're covering up any scratches on the surface. You're not seeing the surface at all. So it's a really good way to reuse one that's damaged. So this has got the twine all the way around it. Then it's just got a simple bit of ribbon and a little bow on the front. So this is the one I'm going to start with because it's one that does take a bit of time. And I have got here's one I started earlier. So it'll probably look slightly different to this because I'm planning to use a few different materials, but the basic string bit is going to be the same. So trusty glue gun. Remember, be very careful with your hot glue, not to burn yourself. I'm going to use this little silver bauble. These baubles are all actually given to me by a neighbour who brought a box around and said, "Can you use these?" Well, yeah. Yes, is they always the same answer. I'm going to start by taking off this, if I can get it off. Some of them don't want to come off. Usually, if you can get the top off, it's easier. There we go. It's come off because you can get right in then and then put the top on to cover up the join. So I'm just going to pop you down. Just bear with me a second, so you can see my hands. Right, so there's my bauble. I'm going to start at the top with the string and the glue. It's very simple. Just put a bit of glue on all around the neck of it there. Just a tiny bit, you don't need a lot. And then you start with your string, fasten it on, mind your fingers. My nails are getting longer now, so it's easier to hold things down without burning my fingers. So there we go. You just very simply keep winding. You want to get it fairly close so you're not seeing the colour of the bauble underneath, but don't overlap. So just keep sticking and gluing and sticking as you go around. You can use coloured twine. If you get butcher's twine, you can use that. You know, the red and white striped string that's very popular at Christmas. You can use knitting yarn. I've got some very nice yarn that I used last week. If you watched last week when I made the trees, I used some sort of silver lurex yarn that I had. That would make a very nice version of this. But if you want to go for the farmhouse rustic look, then stick with the twine. I don't have a theme for my Christmas tree. Well, if I do have a theme, the theme's dog's dinner, because I just put everything on it. And over the years, when my son was small, we used to buy a Christmas tree decoration every year. So we always had a new one to put on. So a lot of the ones I've got a bit, you know, I've got a story to them. So I tend to not want to. So I just put everything on. And then every year I make some as well. So it just gets bigger and bigger. I need about 3 trees now to actually use them all. So this is why this is a good idea, that some of them get a bit of a revamp. Plus the fact that I do have more than 1 tree now. So I'm just going to keep going around this. I'm not going to do it all because that would be incredibly boring for you. But you can see the principle. Just keep going around, trying not to leave any gaps. This is a really good one, as I say, for using up any that I've got damage on the surface, any baubles. You know, the ones like the glittery one I showed you before, they can quite often, the glitter will start to come off after a while. Most of the ones that I'm showing you are quite sturdy, but some of them, particularly the one with the beads on, might need to be wrapped to be stored, because the beads are only cut on with glue, so you don't want to get them, you know, sort of chucked in a bucket and just bashed around, which is, you know, that's what happens to mine. They all get put back in a big plastic bucket and taken up into the loft. We've decided to put them in buckets after we had them in boxes and the mice got in. And yeah, so I've got about halfway down, so you can see how effective it is. You can also see that when I put the top back on, it covers that join. So I'm going to show you the one I made earlier. So I'm going to finish it off so that you can see the other end of it. So this is how far I've got. It's a little bit difficult once you get to the bottom. It's quite easy at the top because you've got the neck of the bauble to guide you. It's a little bit more difficult when you get to the bottom. So I'm going to just do this. It's really important at this stage to make sure you're not leaving too many gaps. Also, another good tip is that if you choose a bauble for this one, that it wouldn't matter if the gap came through. So as I'm using the string, maybe a gold or a silver one could be better than a bright pink one, for instance, because if a little bit shows through, at least it's kind of toning with what you're doing. So I don't want to rush it. I know you're watching me do it and it could be quite a bit boring, but I want to show it as it should be rather than rushing it and having gaps, even though I've still got gaps anyway. This is also the point at which your fingers get really gluey and stringy. So it gets a little bit difficult. So everything sticks to everything. And as I say, not only are you using up the baubles that, you know, probably get left behind in the cupboard every year because you think, oh, that's not good enough to go on the tree. You're not throwing anything away, which is always good for the environment. And you're using up quite a lot of other bits and pieces you might have around. If you might have like half a dozen beads or you know, a few sequins that you don't know what to do with, then don't worry about the glue as well. The glue can make a mess when you get to this stage and start to look a bit bobbly and clumpy, but it will just peel off once it's dry. And it comes off your nails as well once it's dry. So the last bit, I'm putting glue all over that last bit and going round and round. I don't know how many people are out there. Drop me a comment. This time I've actually managed to be able to see your comments. I'm getting better at this technology stuff. Nearly there. I'm just going to quickly coil that last bit in. I think I'll cut it now. That'll make that last bit easier to stick. If you can't get it all the way into the middle, you can always put a bead on it later. Okay, so that is our string bit done. Just gonna peel the glue off my fingers, otherwise I won't be able to do anything. Now, to decorate this, on the one I showed you earlier that I made yesterday, I put a ribbon on it, but when I was rummaging through my workbox, I found this lovely lace. Got loads and loads of it, so I thought, oh, that's nice. And then I thought, oh, I can thread that matching ribbon through it. And so that's what I decided to do for this bauble. And then I thought, oh, I can tie the ribbons into a bow. So, you know, waste not, want not. So measure your bauble round the middle so you've got the right length of ribbon or lace or whatever you decide to put on it. And then, so it's going to come there, and you just want a slight overlap, just about 1/2 centimetre overlap. And I'm going to cut this in between the sections like that, because then it will look neat. So estimate roughly where your bauble, halfway up your bauble is. So that's about there on mine. And I'm going to just tiny dab of glue to start it off with. And then I'm going to stick my lace on. Sorry, I keep turning it away from you. So you can see that's stuck on there. Okay, and I've got this is my bit I want to tie in with the ribbon afterwards. Just need to be careful I don't glue the ribbon to anything. So I'm going to bring that round and make sure that it fits again. And then I'll just put a dab of glue under there to fasten it. If you want to put glue all the way around, you can. I'm just going to ease that down a little so it fits better. And I may just put a little glue under this top bit. If you're using ribbon, I would recommend you do glue it all the way around. Because narrow ribbon especially. I'm trying to be very careful not to overdo the glue, which is a failing of mine. Right, so we've got all that out all the way around. Just gonna. So next bit is to tie our bow. So I'm going to keep that an even on both sides, that ribbon. We'll put that to one side because we will use that in the top of the bauble as well, so it all matches. Then you just tie a bow. This is awkward when you can do this probably really quickly and easily, except when you think somebody's watching you. And then just adjust your bow till you get it as you want it. So I think I quite like that one. Now these are a bit long, so I'm just going to trim them. And then I'm going to just the top off that other one, because then you just add your top on. If it's a tight fit, you might want to just put a little bit of glue so that it doesn't fall off and the bob will go bouncing off. So let's squidge that down. And then I'm going to use another little bit of ribbon as its hanger. that off, thread it through, simply tie a knot in the top. Well, Sue and Maureen both joined us now, and that's your finished bauble. So that's your rustic farmhouse look. Very pretty. I'll show you the other one as well, in case you missed it earlier. A bit simpler, but with the ribbon. I quite like these string wrapped ones. I've got 2 or 3 of these. Okay, so that's our first bauble done. Do you remember I showed you earlier the fabric wrapped ones? This is done with a nice sort of satin, well, silky fabric, the beautiful silky bow. I'm going to show you one of these, but I'm going to use this, staying with the rustic farmhouse feel, this plaid. This is a shirt, again, a charity shop buy, which I always take them apart and take the buttons off and everything. So for this one, you can either cut a circle. If you cut a circle, it gives you a flat top like that one. They cut that with pinking shears. If you cut a square, you get the more sort of pointy top, and I think I prefer the pointy one. So I'm going to, where's the bauble I'm going to use? I'm going to use again a silver one. I've got quite a lot of these silver ones. And what you're going to do is, I'm not even going to iron this because I like the rustic feel to it, but you want enough fabric. Actually, I might cut the seam off it. That will make it a tiny bit easier. Seam off the other side. Should have done all this before, shouldn't I? Cut a big hole in the tablecloth. And then just even it off at that end as well. It's good as plaid because it's got lines you can cut along. If you're not a very good cutter like me, it's nice to have lines to follow. Right, so let's take that there. And again, I'm not worrying about neat edges because I want it to look fairly rustic. So I'm just going to cut that along there, and that should be about right. If you wanted to tear your fabric, you could do that as well, and then you'd get a frayed edge, which would look nice too. So those bits of ribbon, what we're going to do is bring it up like this. Bring it all to the middle. And then tie it with some string. At this point, you might want to add some glue inside to just hold your fabric up, which I think I'm going to do because I did find before that trying to hold it with one hand and tie the string with the other, virtually impossible. I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom and some around the top, not right next to the hanger, but near enough. That fabric got the right side, no, it hasn't. So put that right back in the middle and then bring your fabric up again and just press it to the glue. It won't hold all of it, but it'll hold it enough. And just remember where your hanger is in the middle because that you want to gather it so everything's pointing to the top. And you can turn the bauble without realising it. So you've got that into your little parcel now. I'm going to fasten it with some of this red jute twine that I used last year on Christmas presents. I can't find the end of it now. There it is. So I'm going to cut a piece long, about that long, just to tie my parcel together. Pull it as tight as you can and tie in 2 knots. So 1, push it down with your fingers, and then another one. There we go. Now at this point, you might want to trim these a little bit. They are a bit long, so I'm just going to trim them on an angle. Which is the best way to do this? Don't want to cut the string. There we go. So that's given us. Don't throw away your bits either. Use them for stuffing. Given us a little bit more of a tidy top. Now, somewhere I've got some red and white string. Actually, no, I think I'll use this red ribbon, and I'll do a bow. I like bows. So I'm going to cut that so it's big enough to tie a bow with. At this point, you can trim off your string. You've not got too many ends. I'll turn that way. I always find if I tie a bow upside down, it seems to look right. If I tie it right way up, it doesn't, which is very strange, but one of them little quirks. So you might just have to keep pushing it down with your fingers because it will tend to ride up the fabric. And then just adjust your bow. And another bit of the red string, I think, through the top for your hanger. Lost it now. Where's the hanger? There it is. Could probably be a little bit easier if you put this through before you start. But then it will maybe get in the way. It's not going to go through that easily. The string's splitting. There we go. I can see I've been joined by Sam as well. Nice to have you watching, Sam. So that's your rustic. So we're getting a bit of a theme going here of nice little rustic baubles. You've got your Christmas pudding wrapped wrapped up one and your little string one. So I think it's time for maybe going a little bit glam. Next idea I'm going to show you is quite simple. I did this one yesterday, which was quite fiddly. And then I thought afterwards, after sticking all these beads on, do you know what? I've got strings of beads. I could have just used them. So I've had a bit of a rummage today and found some of these tinsely beads that you have on strings on your tray. So I've trimmed that down. And I thought, red bauble, that'll look nice. So I'm going to stick these round it. I'm not very accurate with my eyes sometimes, so I was finding the easiest way to get this right is to measure your bauble. So measure it from the top to the bottom point. And on mine, this one is 8 centimeters. So the middle of my bauble is going to be 4 centimeters. So I will, this is just a little marker pen and it rubs off, so it's not going to be permanent. So I'm going to measure where 4 is and I'm going to put a little mark. And I'm just going to go around. Oops. They're a bit slippery, these baubles. And do that all the way around. So I'm roughly got the circumference, sort of equator, if you like, of my bauble. So see, I've got marks all the way around it. So I know where to put my glue and where I'm going to stick my beads. So starting with the glue and one of the larger beads because they will stick better. The other ones aren't actually going to touch because of the way it's got big and small beads. And then put your glue about every 1/8 of the way around. Well, we could say under every large bead. like that. It might still be a bit wonky, but this is handmade. If it looks perfect, it wouldn't look handmade, would it? Now you see, I said they wiped off the marks. I'm struggling to see them now. Very dull today. Very dark here and it's raining. Very wintry. And just keep going all the way around. They have moved slightly, gone offline. Can you see? I've lost my marks. Let's just measure it again. It doesn't matter too much if you're a bit out of line, but you don't want it to be, you want them to meet up again when you get to the other side. That's the thing. Let's try that. Because they have wiped off with my fingers, which is good because then you know they're gonna come off when you've finished. Everyone's getting glued up as well now. So last little bit. This is some running out of glue as well. So when you get to the end, we're just going to trim this. I'm going to put the last bit of glue under that last big one, and then we're going to cut it in between. So I'm going to cut it there. Put that to one side. And then more glue just to finish it off. And there we have it. It is a little bit wonky, forgive me, but you get the impression. And it was a bit easier and quicker than the other one. Just to say hello to Chantel, who's agreeing with me about tying bows upside down, which is nice. What colour ribbon should we use? I think I've got this, which is like a cord, and a sort of bronzy coloured cord. We might use that one in this. You can use anything, string, cotton, even what my son calls tumbling monkeys, which if you remember the game Tumbling Monkeys, they're like those little plastic bauble hangers you can get. We call them tumbling monkeys in our family. Everybody's a little bit strange. So that's that. Again, just a simple knot in the top. And there you go, something a bit glamorous. I think the last one I'm going to show you, I will use ribbon. I've got some nice tartan ribbon here. I think I'll use that. And I've got these little jewels, which are quite nice. So, just need to put another glue stick in. I need a bauble. What shall I use? I've got a big box of baubles down here. Oh, top. Some haven't got tops on. And they're all different sizes. Oh dear. Here's the one I prepared earlier. Or not. This is a red one then. We'll use that. That's more pink. We'll use the pink one. And the ribbon, we're going to do like I did it earlier and do it make the bauble into quarters. Again, if you can get the top off, it allows you to hide your joins. These are a bit tough. I think somebody else must have glued these on. Anyway, it came off. So we're going to follow the seam. Can you see there's a seam on that bauble where it's been joined? That's what I'm going to follow with my glue. So a little bit at the top, all the way around that seam. The glue stick. Joining another glue stick in is always a bit tricky as well. I like having a line to follow. Just going to trim that off so it's square. Try and trim it off so it's square. So that goes right as close to the neck as you can. Then just follow the line down the bottom of your bauble. Oops, my glue is dried. I'm trying to see the line again. Okay. I'm trying to keep the line in the middle of my piece of ribbon. It can be a bit difficult this sometimes. There we go. So when I get that to the top there, I'm going to trim it again. I'll put a bit more glue on. So I've divided my bauble in half, sort of. And then I'm going to do the same in the other direction. So I'm going to start here. Put the ribbon on. And then go all the way down to the bottom. More glue. And then up, oh, that's hot. Up to the top again. Cut that off. And glue it. So we've got that far. Now, these are my jewels. I think I may go with this reddy pink one. Can you see that? And then I may stick them. Oops. They are difficult to pick up because they're very fiddly when you've got gluey fingers. So what I'm going to do is maybe go for sticking them on that little cross in the tartan fabric. Again, I'm trying to, it's a little bit fiddly to do while not burning yourself. Someone did recommend I use tweezers, and I think I might get some sort. Can you see? And then another one there. There. And there. Oops. Sticky fingers. I mean, you could put more on. You could go into the, as I said, I always say, don't worry about the glue. You could put something in the segments if you wanted to go for a different colour. I would have probably chosen something silvery. I don't want to go over the top with over decorating. I've got these, some more of these sequins, so they might, actually, I think I'll go with them. They look nice. One last. The last one. I'm all stuck up with glue. What do you think? Oh, I quite like that one. I'll put the top back on. Might just, as I say, I might glue that because it's a little bit fragile. We don't want it to fall off the tree. There we go. And we would finish that off possibly with some silver cord, but I don't have any to hand just now. So I will do that later. And I think that's just everything I was going to show you. I've now got a gluey mess, but I'll just dip you back up. There we go. So that was your baubles. As I said, I mean, those are just a few ideas of things you can do. There was another couple of ideas I've had before, using paints and nail varnish and alcohol inks, which I've not got around to testing myself yet, but I might get that done this weekend. I intend to do a full week of blinging baubles on my Facebook page, so there'll be demos and lives and various other ideas. If you want to pop along during the week to my Facebook page, that's what Kate made, Kate's Design and Craft. If you just go, if you put it into Facebook, you should be able to find it. Also keep an eye out on my Instagram at Kate65. And yeah, so that's been our bauble sessions. I hope that's encouraged you to not throw your baubles away this year. If you want a new scheme, create your own rather than throwing them away, because most of these are plastic, and you know, that's them forever in the environment. So, well, thank you for watching. We've got another session coming in a couple of weeks. I think I'm having a couple of weeks off because we're going away. So I will see you then, and have a good evening.